Today is episode 19 of the full paycheck investing series. It's another exciting one today as I'll be investing kind of my first new normal weekly paycheck of the new job. So that amounts to 2.25K every week that I'll be getting from here on out. I'll also be paying my mortgage straight from my brokerage with a margin loan against my growing assets. And step by step, you'll see practically and transparently how I live out of my Robinhood brokerage account and invest 100% of my income. And the goal with that really is to build monthly cash flow that'll eventually exceed my monthly expenses and hopefully retire early by 40 years old. I'm truly paying myself first in the very real sense of the word. As always, you'll get radical transparency on my channel. I share my real numbers, and you see exactly how much skin I have in the game with any given position. You can follow along my portfolio by checking the free Snowball portfolio link in the description below. If you appreciate all the transparency, make sure to give a like and subscribe. As usual, just a quick disclaimer, this video is for entertainment and education purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor and nothing here should be taken as financial, investment, or tax advice. I'm simply sharing my personal investing journey and documenting my own results. Make sure you pay close attention to the disclaimer here. And it finally happened. I had a quick minute yesterday to kind of update this chart for the new weekly paycheck investing. So I'll just kind of quickly go over it, but this is basically what I'll be doing today. You'll see this in practice. But this is going to be my new weekly flow of kind of fully living out of my Robinhood brokerage account and investing 100% of my paycheck. So I'll be taking all my W-2 income, so my full paycheck, 100% of it. So that's 2.25K a week or 9.75K a month roughly. And that all goes to my Robinhood taxable brokerage account. And that gets fully invested, this full amount. So nothing is left for bills and whatnot. So 10% of that will go to growth and dividend growth ETFs. So things like QQQM, SCHD, VGT, ORR, CLSC, VU, SPMO. And all the dividends are reinvested here. And then 90% of it, so the large majority of it, will go to high yield income ETFs. So XPay, SPY, QQI, TSPY, TDAC, MLPI, IAUI. So I'm kind of going for the safer 10 to 20% yielders. And all the dividends from these will be depositing to cash and margin to kind of keep the margin balance under control. And currently that's at like 4.8K a month and growing, right? So I'm just kind of building that dividend snowball. And what happens is that I never sell any assets to take money out of the account. What I do is that I borrow against those assets on margin. So at a really good rate of 4.5%. So I wish honestly my mortgage was at this. My mortgage is at 5.95%. And then I take that and pay my bills with it, everything. So my bills range anywhere from 7 to 9K every month. And really what gets taken out on margin is the difference between the monthly dividends that get deposited and my bills, right? So that's what gets added to margin every month after it's all said and done. And really that I'll be repeating this week in, week out, and you'll see this in my videos. But really the portfolio end goal here is to replace my full salary with monthly income from the portfolio and retire early by 40 years old in 4 years. So it's a very aggressive goal, but yeah, you'll see whether I hit that or not on this channel and fully transparently. So without further ado, let's just kind of do exactly this, but in the portfolio. So let's pop over to Robinhood here. So another green day in the market today. It's been a crazy last few months of green, which has been surprising. I'm at 198.5K here. You can kind of take a look at my margin total, my margin used here. So 259K for margin total, 170.2K, and roughly 44.3K of cash available for withdrawal here. So yeah, pay attention to these numbers as I kind of deposit my full paycheck here. So as I've mentioned in a previous video, I have a new setup here that instead of using the Robinhood spending account, which I know most people don't have access to anymore, or if you don't have Robinhood banking it, you can actually set up a second brokerage account here. And that's where I'm depositing my paycheck and actually paying bills out of. So here my full paycheck is in here, the 2.25K. So I'll just get that transferred over to my main brokerage account. And yeah, you can kind of see how these numbers evolve too when I deposit this, right? So let's just do that to the individual. So 2251.41, correct? Yep. So do that, get that transferred over. Great. So now this should go up. So you can kind of see that my margin total went up by the exact amount. My margin use went down because that pays down the margin, right? That pays it down first. And then also my cash went up by the same amount. But what's doubled is my margin buying power by that amount that I've deposited, right? So now these numbers will change based on the investments I make here. I'll be investing into a couple different things. So first things first, I'll be doing 10% in growth, right? So if we pop over to my sheet here, you can kind of see what's in the red right now. So a lot that's in the green. So on the growth side, these are all my assets here on growth. So most things are in the green right now. One thing that I'll be doing is probably doing another buy into ore like I did last week. So this is the last thing that's in the red that's kind of lagging behind because it's more international exposure out of my portfolio and just being a lot more exposed to the Strait of Hormuz issues with Iran. So yeah, we'll just do that and buy the dip on that. And then really like if we pop over to Snowball here to kind of my buys here, you can kind of see where I've kind of made my buys over the years. So kind of bought right before the conflict broke off and then it dipped. So still buying in the dip channel here, which is nice. So let's just do that. So I'll do 225 essentially. I'm just going to factor out the cents here. So let's do ORR. So 225. Great. So bought ORR. And then now, so that's 10% of the paycheck invested. Now let's do the rest of the 90%. So I'll be investing it into a couple different things. So I'll be doing another buy of IAUI. So this is just my monthly gold buy that I've been doing. So instead of buying put insurance and kind of throwing money away on like green months, I'd prefer to kind of just build up assets that are kind of uncorrelated to the market. So that's gold for me. So yeah, not the perfect hedge by any means, but I think it's something, and I'd rather be investing in assets than kind of just buying that crash insurance personally. And yeah, so I'll be doing $200 there since like tomorrow is basically May 1st, right? So we'll just do it a day early. So I'll do that. So $200 and IAUI. I just want to, so minus 225, minus 200, just keep track of where we're at, right? So I'll just do 200. Cool. All right. And then two more things I want to buy. So we pop over to the sheet again to kind of see what's in the red. So KCOP was the fresh position that I established last week, and it's kind of dipped since then with everything going on in Iran still. So I'm thinking I'm going to buy the dip there as well. So I'm going to put like half of what's left. So I have like 1826 and put that into KCOP as well. So half of that is like 1913. We'll have to divide that by KCOP's price because we can't actually buy fractional shares on that yet because its AUM is relatively small. So let's do that. 1913 divided by 2293. So how many shares I can buy there? So 39 shares. All right, let's buy that. Minus 894, that's 25. So I have $932 and $16 left to invest. So yeah, the remainder of that, I'm actually just going to do in an index. So the one I'm probably the most underweight in as far as my funds right now is TSPY. So that one's probably like the lowest out of the bunch in the indexes. And I'm kind of like the most underweight here. Like I'm factoring out SPY just because this is basically my fund for any YouTube earnings. So this is kind of like how I'm tracking and how you can track as well too, how much money I'm putting in from just my YouTube income, my referral earnings, things like that. So I'm kind of nearing $3,000. And yeah, so I'll put into TSPY here and kind of get this up as well. So let's just invest that. So 932.16 for TSPY. And so it's a green day today. Ideally, it would be great to invest when it's red, but can't always catch it, right? So we'll be doing that. Great. That's the full paycheck invested. So, and yes, things are still climbing crazy. And you can kind of see that like how the numbers have changed here. My margin use has gone back to what I started with before the video started, right? Just because, yeah, I bought everything and basically brought it back to level. The margin total has gone up because of those deposits. And then half of the cash that I put in is available for withdrawal because I invested it. So they keep the other half as collateral essentially. And then now what we're going to do is pay bills. So if we pop over to my sheet here and check what bill is left. So there's only one bill left today, and that's my mortgage. So that's like the big chonker here, $2,998.31. So what we'll do here is just transfer that over to my cash account, and I'll basically just withdraw it there, right? So it's not switching money buckets, right? Like I basically switched the money to my investing account and then invested it all. And then now I'm taking a loan against that and paying my mortgage essentially, right? But then I've kind of built up more of my monthly income, and that's kind of growing my dividend snowball every month, right? And replacing my salary week by week. So let's just get that transferred over. So we'll do from individual. You'll notice that this amount has gone up, right? By half the amount I put in. And then I'll send that over to the cash account. So 299,831. Great. And let's just get that transferred over. Awesome. So yeah, now these numbers should go down as well. So the buying power has gone down a little bit to under what I was at, right? Because of the mortgage payment. And then yeah, the margin use has gone up, margin total has gone down a bit, and then cash available for withdrawal has gone down a little bit compared to where we started from. But what's nice is that all this will get replenished, right? So yeah, all my dividends for my high yield stuff, that gets deposited to cash. So that kind of pays down the margin balance every week in, week out. So today I'm actually going to be getting all these dividends. So that's going to pay down the margin balance and kind of keep that a little bit better under control. So I'm not taking out the full 9K every month there. I'm basically just kind of putting on the difference in margin between my monthly dividends and my monthly expenses essentially. So with that, let's just get my sheet updated here. So let's pop back over here and then just kind of have a bird's eye view of all the numbers here and how they're looking. So let's do that. And let's get those positions updated. So I got IAUI, TSPY, KCOP, and OR. All right. So let's do that. This should be a little average up. Okay. And then TSPY will be a little bit of an average up as well too. KCOP will be a little nice average down actually. 23.86. That'll be a nice one. I can get fractional shares on this. I had like cash back this week that I really wanted to buy with it, but couldn't quite. And then OR will be a nice average down. Great. So with that, everything is updated and yeah, you can kind of see where stuff has landed, right? So now my gross value of the portfolio is sitting at 371.2K. So yeah, just kind of hitting all-time highs with the gross value here. And then my margin used is sitting at 173.2K, and then which gives me a net value of 198K even right now, at least. This will fluctuate throughout the day. So yeah, sitting nice and green overall. And then right now, what makes up that 371.2K is 184.2K of growth assets. So everything in here, and then 187K for all my high yield income assets. So everything in gray here, right? So I'm kind of firmly getting into higher percentage of high yield income. And that's the goal right now with how much I'm investing into it more. I just want to try to accelerate replacing my paycheck as much as possible. Maybe one day I'll transfer over all this growth to high yield income, but I'm not quite ready to pull that trigger yet. So still nice to be investing in growth and getting that uncapped growth. And then as far as the margin health after all those investments, you can kind of see here. So all the gross margin and net numbers we went to, my margin maintenance is sitting at 92.8K. So my portfolio would have to drop to this amount to basically hit a margin call, right? And that's basically 25% of my gross portfolio value. So with that, that gives me a margin buffer of 105.1K between that and my net portfolio value. And that's how you can kind of know how safe you are from a margin call, right? So on a net value buffer, I'm actually sitting at 53.12%, which is like relatively comfortable. But the thing that's important is that if this buffer dropped from the gross portfolio value as well, that would be the equivalent of this 53% drop, right? If my full portfolio value dropped 28.33%, that would be the equivalent of 53.12% given the leverage multiple, right? So if you kind of times these, it roughly almost gives this. And that's the one that's important to keep in mind, right? Because yeah, a 28.3% market drop is actually something that can happen. Don't rely just on the net margin buffer, right? It makes you feel safer than you are. And with that, my margin buying power is at 85K. So that's your margin total minus your margin used. And then if you take half this amount, there's 42.5K in cash available for withdrawal. And that's where the money's sitting at in the buffer. And then my equity is sitting at 53.33%. So above 50%, which is nice, where I want to be at. And then on my monthly income, it's looking like $4,889. So it's gone up a little bit. We can kind of actually calculate how much income we made or added to this essentially today with the buys. So we can have a quick look here. Yeah, that's a pretty good monthly income given that I'm paying $646 in margin interest. So making over 4,200 in positive spread there, which is nice. So that kind of gives me a 31.37% distribution yield on just the high yield income assets, right? If you go off the full portfolio value, it's sitting more at like 16.48%. Let's have a quick look here at how much yield we added to the portfolio here today. Yeah, I'm going to bring up the three calculators. We did 200 for IAUI, so times 12.63. So divided by 12, so $2 a month. Amazing. And then we did roughly 913. Let's just call it 913 for KCOP. I don't want to look up the actual number. 0.15, not 52, divided by 12. Okay, and then 913 in TSPY times 1456 divided by 12, 11. So plus 11.8 plus 2.1. So added just under roughly $25 a month of monthly income to the portfolio today. So yeah, a little smaller because it's just like the weekly paycheck, but we'll be doing that every week. And yeah, just be doing that in safer yielders from now on, right? Every now and then I'll invest in Chippy and BTCI on like little dips, but we'll be mostly focusing on the safer yielders and not quite doing YMAX and Alti this year since I'm so heavy in those already. And we'll just kind of keep collecting their income. So yeah, that's a full paycheck invested. And yeah, hopefully that's a nice practical view of like how that happens and how I pay bills out of the brokerage, right? I'll be drawing this amount after the video's done straight to my mortgage payment. And yeah, that's the video. If you want to keep supporting the channel, always take a peek at the description of any video. You'll see all the things that I have here. So my Snowball portfolio that you can check out for free, my Blossom social profile, my free portfolio spreadsheet tracker, our Discord, my Patreon, my backup channel here, all the links there if you're ever looking for anything. And yeah, if you appreciate the transparency, feel free to give a like and subscribe and hit the bell notification to be notified about future videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.